I'm a little further from my oh good, it worked. Perfect. Haha, it worked. All right, Brother Leggett's here. Hi, Brother Jeff. And
How you doing?
good. I'm good. There we go. All right, let's get started here today. All I gotta do is just do this. Good. All right, so we're gonna start the session. It's our second session. Got to share the charts with you now. Hold on. Forgot to open it up. I do that all the time. Stand by. Yeah, it's open now, which means I can go here. There we go. Today's April 21st, meeting two, class of 25. This is a funny part of the year because I'm meeting with class of 24 for their last sessions and getting insights to where they're going. I'm seeing their financial aid awards. I've seen about 20 already this year. So I see some interesting trends. Some are disturbing. I'll cover those today very quickly. I'll review some of the slides we had in the first session, only very few that are pertinent to this meeting. The bulk of them I'm leaving out. I will cycle back for special presentations of parts of that. The best thing you could do is visit my YouTube channel. We'll put that up in the chat. Visit our channel and subscribe, because that's where I'll drop shorts and clips and things that are important to you. In this class of 2025, I always will say, class of 2025, this subject. So you don't have to do look at the other videos, but you can do that also. We have over 535 videos. A lot of them are college information. You'll find almost anything in there. We've separated them in playlists, but definitely get our most recent stuff to see what we've been saying and doing most recently. All right, let's go ahead and get started. All right, here's how to stay in touch with us and what we're doing. These are all the different ways we're out there communicating. We have a website. At westaep.org, new events. We have a newsletter. If you get on our distribution, you get our newsletter every week. That's how some of you found out about the meeting. You can email me. There's my email address. You can email anybody on my team at West AEP. I look at that too. We're on Facebook. Frequently, we'll post things on Facebook that we just don't have time to do in meetings that are very important. You might want to friend us on Facebook. Let's see, our YouTube channel. We've already talked about that. She'll put the link in the chat if she hasn't already. Please subscribe. You can find us at West Angeles EEP. That's how you'll find our, just type in West Angeles EEP in YouTube and you'll find us. We're right there, okay? We're also out there on Twitter. Twitter tends to be where, oh, let me hide that bar, sorry. Twitter happens to be where I do a lot of my educational, political, and cultural statements. Also do stuff from a biblical point of view at times, but you can reach me on Twitter. I'm out there, and if you're in Twitter also, I'll be glad to answer any questions, or if you post an article you want me to see, I can do it there, okay? Now let's continue. It's probably somewhere I'm at I didn't put up here, like Instagram, Pinterest, but these are the major ones anyway. Now, here's some important questions that should drive you in the early stages of the college decision. I say decision, well, the first key decision you're going to make is what the college list should look like. What schools should be considered? How are you going to spend your early time? And these are some things to be known early. Now, some of these things, are wishes by me, but maybe not something you plan to do or think you'll do later. But this is based on my knowledge of, over 20 years and certainly what's happening recently, because things are very different in the college world. I'm finding post-pandemic, they're really different. I guess I'm gonna stop saying post-pandemic soon, but they are very different. First of all, parents, how much are you willing to pay or go into debt for? We're going to talk about that later in the session in a very unusual way by looking at the parent loan table and making a determination what kind of debt is reasonable. A lot of you thinking, I don't want any loans. Well, that might be in conflict with what you're articulating as the kinds of, I'm going to say there's a 90% chance that what you want for your college student for college will require you to think about loans. I used to think that that's obvious, but it's not. It's not obvious this early. Because a lot of times in life, I find what I desire to get and do doesn't work out for me. And I'm seeing that this year with parent loans so much. Unless you've saved a lot of money for college, and most people haven't, unless you've decided that you'll just send your child local to college, most of you who come to my meetings have not decided that. You're going to probably have an amount to pay for college that exceeds your monthly budget at home, which you expected to have available for college per month. If it is, hallelujah, you can handle it. And if you pick wisely, it probably could be true too. But usually the kinds of schools that would not cost you much, most people are not willing to look at, although I have a fair share to do who come into my program. Next thing to remember about parent loans, who takes them out? Who's going to take it out? Sometimes I'll hear, a friend of the family or someone wants to take out the loan, but parent loans are only for parents. And that's the tricky part of this whole process. Only parent loans can take out parent loans. Only parents can take out parent loans. Next consideration, anything saved for college? That's consideration. Are you going to be away or are you going to be close? People always say, well, I want to be in state. Usually when a student says they want to be in state, and I question that student, or they'll say, I don't want to be in state. And I question that student. Well, let's deal with both. First, I'll say, I want to be in state. They really will mean right around Southern California, right around LA. They'll say, I don't want to be in state. And then when I question them closely and point out to them, there are schools in other states that are closer than the furthest away California schools. And they realize what they're saying is they don't want to be near home. They want to be far away from home. So in-state is a funny term. That's why I put it in quotes. Then some just tell me they want to be in the LA area. We'll talk about all those cases in a minute. Do we understand career paths? Notice how I pick my words. Not only majors, do you understand career paths? Remember, put any questions in the chat or just turn off your mic and speak it right up. Or you can raise your hand or whatever you want to do. It's fine with me. And the final consideration, is it going to be a black schools only you're going to apply to? Because I'm seeing that more and more, that especially during an election year, I often get people who only want to apply to black schools. That happens during every election year because as a country, we get so racialized, I suppose. I'm not totally sure why, but I see many more applications for HBCUs. Well, I should say predominantly black schools. All right. Is it that you want black schools mostly? That was just to stimulate your thoughts, because the question is, what are you looking for? Well, these are college decisions, questions that should be brought up right now. I used to call them conversations within your family that should be being had right now. They should be. Here are the most common approaches that families take to the types of colleges they want to look at. This goes directly after what we had before, of course. Here's an interesting fact. Listen to this. The type of college is usually determined either by grades or by decision in May 15th, not of the senior year, of the 11th grade year, the type of college people are willing to look at. It's probably about 80%. The 20% is interesting because that means I have students who are going to schools now who never thought they would go to the school, and they're very happy. There's that possibility too. Here's the most common preferred decision types: UCs and selective private colleges, which includes selective HBCUs, black schools only. These are decision types that I see, like what I see in the college list when I get them. Only local colleges, and CSUs and UCs. You might wonder how many people are in one of these categories only with their college list. About half of the students that I interview with for college. Now, they may have one or two of one of these others, but I mean, it's really a list like that. The rest of those 50 do truly mix up their schools and are really going to try to do that. Which way is better? I'm not here to say which one's better. It depends a lot on your family, what's going on in your house, and kind of the way you see things too, because you're the one in charge. The parent's going to be the one paying the money, so you're going to decide what that list ultimately will look like. Now, when you do your first conference, or we have a conference and we talk over how I'm going to help you, I'll make my own suggestions as well. Early considerations for the college list. Applying to college is not the same as attending. I want students to remember that. Just because you apply to school doesn't mean you're going. You apply to college that you will not attend. So why not have some affordable schools on your list, at least, in case you end up liking those schools, that are going to be very affordable. But people don't always take those kind of suggestions. They do it in reverse. They put the schools they want and try to figure out how to make them affordable. Have 2 to 4 CSUs on your list, 1 to 2 that you know you can get into. This is a hard one for students that have really high grades. They feel like CSUs are lower schools. But we got 4, 5, 6 CSUs, actually 4, that are the most selective schools in the state. Even more selective than Berkeley, 1 of them, 2 of them, and 3 of them more than UCLA. It's hard to believe that, but it's true. One of them, CSU Long Beach, got 152,000 applications last year. That's more than UC Berkeley got. Are you suburban? I'm sorry. Where are we? Include high career starting traditional Black colleges in your list is what if you're going to do Black school, that's fine, but have some Black schools that are surely high profile, but also ones that are great career starting TBCs, some that are more affordable. We'll talk about that later. Why apply to just one type of college? How about that? Are you urban, suburban, or rural? How adventurous is the student? How close to home? We talked about that. All right, here's some challenges you'll have. This is probably an extremely important view graph, and I'm going to take it really slow because I find it's going to provoke a lot of thought. So a lot of students here have high grades, so there's a lot of expectation. I get a lot of, in this part of the program, I get students that have very high grades, okay? And so you're looking at UCs and selective colleges. Black schools, I put colleges, Black schools, what am I thinking? Or only local colleges, how about that? Well, it's going to take you 8 hours per week, June through August. And you know why? Because you probably have a long list. Some of you will have 20 or 30 schools on your list, especially after you get with your counselors. Now, I don't push 20 or 30 school lists. I like them 11 or 12. They can get it done. But you're going to have very long lists. I've seen that a lot post-pandemic. I'm not here to judge that. I'm just here to tell you what it takes to get those out. I had a student this year with 34 schools. 8 hours per week, June through August. Well, whoa. Even just 8 hours per week, a couple hours a day, is going to be in conflict with the following things. Here's the competition with the applications. I'm going really slow for a reason. Summer travel and enrichment. A lot of you are already planning to send your students away to relatives or to the other parent. And you got this long college list. You know, am I saying that you shouldn't do that? No. I'm just here to point out the dilemma you'll have for their time. Summer jobs. Sometimes kids are working 30 and 40 hours. I find they're way too tired to work on their applications. Athletic practices and games, that's a big one. You're not going to tell the coach no, but yet you want them to. These are all students that have super high grades, high expectation. There's going to be a long list of colleges. Performing arts. If they're in a performing art, again, that's great. I think they should do something with it in the summer. But let's back off on expecting that we're going to get a lot of college essays done, a lot of work done on essays, because I like to see all the essays done by August. And most of you are thinking that too. So when they go back to school, there's not much to be done. But it's hard when they're so busy in the summer. I saw that trip up and cause stress to a lot of my students this past year, last 2 years, actually. College campus overnight classes. Well, I should say overnight on the campus. Like some students are going away to colleges and you're in an overnight program for 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 weeks. You've already paid for it. You think, well, maybe they'll do their stuff while they're away. Parents, I never, ever see that. I never see students working on when they're with relatives or they're traveling or they're away. Students may be out of the country, whatever. You want them to enjoy that. Now, I'm not advocating stopping all that. I'm advocating a fresh look at your list, putting on the list only what you need. And then listen to this, accepting reality that a lot of the essay work will be done during September through November. Usually 2 or 3 of these, that's right, I didn't mention that. It should be these, it's a typo, I'll correct that. Over in this box over here, that I just pointed at, usually it's 2 or 3 of those. If it was just one, you might be okay. But sometimes it's 2 or 3 of those, sometimes even 4 of those things I've seen that students are going to try to do in the summer. There's one thing I don't have there is college courses. Some students are going to take college courses during the summer, maybe 2 or 3, or they're taking some kind of summer class they feel they have to take before next year. So when it's 2 or 3 of them, you need to step back and say, well, can I really have a really long list or not? We can help you with that in your first college readiness meeting with me. I can help you. You can set that up. I just need the unofficial transcript, 2 dates and times from you. I'll mention that again. We can have a meeting. The more applications above 4 private colleges, the more likely those essays are going to go to September through December. Okay? And we'll define what the tasks are and what you actually have to do. But this is the challenge. How will the summer be spent? How is it going to be handled? Because you probably already planned for their summer. And sometimes schools have workshops you can go to your school during the summer and they'll meet with you for 2 days and cover the essays. But I can guarantee you will not finish your essays in those 2 days. And they're not going to keep calling your student back to hold them accountable to finish their drafts. We'll do that. We'll work with a student. We'll get those drafts completed and edited, and we'll put them in the freezer for application delivery. And that's not something that schools can do with that 1 or 2 days. Sometimes only a couple hours they bring them in. They just overview the essays to them. I'll be doing more today about essays than they'll do in those sessions. Well, maybe not. Maybe they'll tell them what the essays are. So that's not true. So start thinking about, I guess, whether they'll have time to do them, and then secondarily, who can help. You may not feel that I'm the best one to help. It's okay. We have a lot of experience, but I've never been one to think I'm the only answer. Some of you think an English teacher can help you. English teachers are limited. They don't know the admissions process. You wouldn't go to a foot doctor if you have an eye trouble. That's the problem with that. You need someone who knows what admissions offices are looking for, someone who's read applications for colleges. I've done that, and has trained their people to look at those. We've done that. But if you've got someone else, a relative, whatever, who has that kind of experience, that's okay. But just remember, people who attended college, like we're a professor, someone who attended college, doesn't make them necessarily right away the best person to read applications. So we're totally in a totally different era right now. That's enough on that. I think you get the point there. Any questions, Quinn? Do you see?
No questions yet.
All right. Let's look at this admissions process. I said a data-driven college list. I covered that last time. I talked about basing it on GPA and career and things like that. That's data, not just on anecdotes, stories, or what a relative thinks or alums think. You need a data-driven list. You can have some schools that are on your list because of friends you have that have told you about a school. There's nothing wrong with that. We're dropping people a lot today, I notice. Hope that's not me. It may be me, huh? Let's see. Out-of-state public universities is the first category of schools. They can be delivered, usually start in September versus sometimes as early as August. California State Universities, early action private colleges, and Protestant Christian colleges. We're going to talk about should I do early action or not just a little later. And then universities of California, then the regular period private colleges. Here's some how it relates to the FAFSA. You'll submit a FAFSA. The application acceptances will come in. You look at the award, and then that's how you make your decision. You do your cost trade-offs, and then you'll pick the college. This is the entire college process right in front of you. I was searching for a way to get the whole process in one place. You should think it took like 3 pages. No, it doesn't. This is a good overview of the process right here. You notice the FAFSAs are part of the process. Here's what we look at realistically on delivering those same applications. Out-of-state public universities can be done, we'll say September 15th, you can start doing those. These are the start dates. October 1st to 31st is when the Cal States will be delivered. We'll talk about how we can help for each one of these. Early action private colleges, 1st to 15th. As I said, we'll talk about which ones should be the first. I'll see people every year who have lists of 20 to 25 schools and they want to deliver every single one of them early. You should not do that. I'll tell you the criteria today for determining that. Universities of California, the 1st to the 30th, and then regular period private schools, they'll be delivered mostly in December if you have a long college list. It can be delivered earlier, but the deadline is typically in January for those schools anyway. So you're going to have an essay for your early action private colleges and private and Christian colleges, UCs, and the regular period private schools. Let me get this out of the way. I'm sorry. The regular period private colleges, they're all going to have essays. Notice the out-of-state public universities and the Cal States, for the most part, well, Cal States period, they don't. And out-of-state, for the most part, do not have essays. Occasionally, you'll find one that's on the Common App, but it's not that common at all. Okay. We have one-on-one support options. We can work with your youth on their essays. And we also have application support we can do to help your youth as well. Okay. Why every student who is 3.0 to 3.3 or below should not predominantly apply to selective private colleges. There are some private colleges they can look at, but I don't think they should do all that selective private college stuff. First of all, this includes HBCUs that are selective, which are they're mostly private colleges, HBCUs. Unless 100,000 to 300,000, okay. So what will happen is some of these schools, say you're 3.4 and you get admitted to Stanford. Say something happens, you get admitted, which is be very strange. You're not going to get any merit scholarships. So you're going to be fully exposed to the 85,000, 90,000 per year because you'll get no merit awards, right? For most people, that kind of money is too much. But if you had higher grades, you might be able to offset some of that money. This also applies to out-of-state public universities like Arizona State, Oregon State, Washington State. These schools, University of Arizona, these schools are very expensive schools. You're out of state, you're going to pay for it. Now, the other bullet I just put up was there's complex admissions requirements. You have little chance of success. You're going to spend a lot of time and effort. Remember the 8 hours per week. You're going to spend a lot of time and effort for schools that your GPA is too low to qualify for. So you got to have high grades. Okay, more explanation. Unless your GPA is 3.85 plus unweighted SAT 1300 plus, popular and known, I'll just say it that way, y'all. 4-year selective private college, it's not going to be affordable for you for 4 years. It's going to run you, actually should be $90,000 to $300,000. And $90,000 would be if you have a high GPA. Admission is possible with reduced GPA and a high SAT, but what about affording the school? You need both. It's very important. Admissibility and affordability are two entirely different issues. Boy, that is certainly true. You can get in, but can't afford it. You know, of course, you could afford it and not get in, but that's unusual. Students should get the school they earn and want, not just the school they want. See, we have this thing we say students should get the school of their choice. Well, you never hear me say that. They should get the school they've earned with their grades and performance, not just the one they want. That's the way life is. We know it. Parents, we know they can't have everything they want. It's a great time, if there's any young people hearing this, it's a great time for you really to begin that transition to knowing what adulthood's all about. Adulthood often finds us in situations where we can't have what we want, sometimes what we deserve. Here's some charts I've used in the last session. I've updated the amounts, that's all. I used it in Lakewood recently, $87,500 per year for NYU. Southern Cal is close to $95,000 a year right now. And I blew right past it, but there's this 1/3 rule. Pretty much you should plan that you're going to pay for 1/3 of the school. That's settling in as the way it's done. Now, it could be more you pay if you don't have super high grades. Remember, I've assumed on this chart, lower right corner, 3.8 plus unweighted, 75,000 family income. So if the income's lower or if the grades are higher, you can get more money. But everything being equal, this is about what you should figure going in. School's going to eat 1/3, you're going to pay 1/3. Hopefully the students will have merit awards to cover 1/3. NYU is $87,500 per year. I told you Southern Cal, $95,000. Harvard, fire sales, $78,000 per year. And we know Ivy Leagues just have a standard percentage that everybody pays that above a certain income. Now, if you make less than a certain amount, sure, they'll cover everything without loans. But you got to be below that minimum. And here comes the kicker. Warning, a double negative coming, but I don't know how to do it without a double negative. Harvard and Stanford and many of these selective schools are not need blind, which means they're going to be looking at what you make when you apply, and they'll have only a certain amount of students that they're going to accept that they have to cover the full freight on. So it's not like a guarantee. They just won't admit you, then they've kept their guarantee, right? So for admitted students, that's their guarantee. I've had students that did not admit to Harvard, and well, let me stay at the ones I know about, Columbia. I've had students get into Columbia and one not get in, that they have the same GPAs. In fact, the one that did not get in had a higher GPA. They both were high GPAs, don't get me wrong. And of course, the one that didn't get in had reduced income, and they only take so many of those. And they go on literally the date of FAFSA. So if you have a reduced income and super high grades, you should get the FAFSA in as early as you can. Now, this year, they suspended all that because of the problems with the FAFSA. But that's always been true. So in these schools that say, well, if you're below 120 or 70, you know, we'll cover everything. Well, it's if you get in and they're not need blind. I mean, they know your financial need when they admit you. They peek at the financial data. Most schools still do not. I'm talking about that small subset of schools that's guaranteeing they're going to cover you without loans. It comes up every year. Georgetown, $92,000 per year. Arizona State, it's a state school, $57,000 per year. So they won't even have a standard grant there because you're not a state student. A lot of students want to go to Arizona State. It's a very popular school on social media. And every year, just about, I'd say half of the application lists I hear have Arizona State on. University of Oregon's another one that's, for some reason, that's super popular with our students. Howard, great school, 54,000 per year. I updated that number. It's one of the lower priced HBCUs. It is an HBCU because it's a private Black college, but it's very selective. Did I tell you it's extremely selective? Did I tell you it's very selective? And that's because of the popularity of the school. That's the school where Kamala Harris went, where Black Panther went, and where Phylicia Rashad was the Dean of Fine Arts. So it has a very, very attractive reputation and some very, very proud, highly distinguished alums. Hampton, $47,200 per year. It's actually a little easier to get merit awards from Howard than Hampton, by the way, which is why Howard's one of our preferred schools. It's water here. Because you don't have to have extremely high, unbelievably high grades to get money from Howard, but you'd have to have good grades. Here's that parent loan table I promised. Again, if you get this presentation, you can take a look at it. The left column has the loan amounts for 4 years. You can make it 1 year, 4 years, whatever you want to make it, but I think of it as 4 years. Because usually for CSU, for example, it's going to be 30,000 in loans you're going to have, maybe 50, but usually 30 or 40. Your repayment amount for CSU at Cal State going to be about $374 a month for 10 years. The total repay will be $44,000. Then look what happens down here at 200,000, 210,000. Look at 210. 210,000. The monthly payment is $2,600 a month for 10 years. You got to ask yourself, is there something you can do? So I'm going to pay it off sooner. That means it's going to be more per month. And I advise you to double up and do whatever you can to get it paid off to avoid that interest, because look what you end up paying back, $314,000. And for a lot of us, you had that 10 years on, you're close to retirement. It may go on after retirement. If you can't make some of the payments, it will be extended. This is a lot of money. So you need to think about which go to loans. Now, a lot of you would think, well, I'm not going to have any loans. Well, the chances are, if you're looking at those private schools, somebody's going to have loans. And my only thing is to try to minimize your loans if you can. There are certain other realities of the private college market. Most private colleges are returning to their high-cost models post-pandemic. Due to the high inflation net costs, it will be even higher now. Parents, by the way, that's the housing and food that's jumped in cost so badly. So that's affecting direct cost. Parents still believe getting admitted to selective, well-known colleges means the best life success and are often willing to take debt to send their youth to these schools. That's just a statement of fact. Note, even in an election year, there is zero political discussion of helping parents and forgiving parent loans. Nobody's talking about that. It's been all about student loans. There's been no discussion of the parent loan. We find no difference in the features of similar performing youth in expensive private colleges and CSU and other. That's right. I see students, an equal percentage of students doing financially successful coming out of non-selective private schools or public universities you maybe aren't as familiar with, and CSUs. They do just fine. It's not to say if they go to a great selective college, they won't do well. They can do well. A lot of mine do well who go to those schools, but just remember, if you don't have it, don't feel you need to be guilted into spending money you don't want to spend. This is always a very uncomfortable discussion for me because I am a deacon, and there's this thing about deacons and money, but I hope the message is coming through. I'm not going to say actually much more about cost today, though. Here's some ideas for colleges on the list. I covered this before. Howard, Tuskegee. First of all, non-traditional, Grand Canyon and Charles Drew. Those are non-traditional, affordable private colleges that students come out and have great careers. Top affordable preferred Black schools: Howard, Tuskegee, Virginia State, Norfolk State, Delaware State. These are schools that don't cost as much as our Black colleges, or they have easy to attain scholarships. Okay? And just notice the Black schools that are not on that list, parents. Remember our top affordable preferred colleges. Private, we like GW, Seattle Pacific, back here, disclaimer, I'm an alum of GW and worked on admissions issues with their school. Seattle Pacific University, Reed College, Carnegie Mellon, Lehigh University, University of Laverne, Biola University, Christian School, California Baptist Christian School, Loyola Marymount. Now, they're best for incomes less than 60, above 60. Remember, they're need blind, by the way. They're need blind. So a lot of my students get plenty of money in the past. Now, I saw the first couple of financial aid awards from them, and I was a little disappointed, but I haven't called them to get more money on the student yet, so I shouldn't comment yet. Because I didn't include Loyola in that list. It's currently $86,000 per year. Let's see, UC selected private colleges. Let's look at that process. There's a grade self-report, first of all. You actually report on yourself, your grades. Selected private college, you'll have essays. This is selected private college, okay? The red arrow is UC, and the black arrow is selected private college. So you can see UC over here. You have a self-report, essays, applications delivered. That's all there is to UC. When you see it that way, it looks easy. But look at the black arrows for selected private college. You're going to have teacher recommendations. You're going to deliver transcripts. That's right. With UC, you do not deliver transcripts. It's a grade self-report. If there's errors on it, they won't find out till after you're admitted, and they could turn down your application after it's been approved. But self-reports stay in foremost work 98% of the time. There's no plans to change it. And they could ask you for your transcript to help their review, but it's not required up front. For private schools, it is required. So the essay support comes in. You can see wherever you see our little name here, education enrichment, wherever you see that. Let me see. I should have plugged in my board. I didn't do it. Whenever you, where's it at? Good job, John. It's in my bag. So whenever you see that, you realize that we're in there to supporting and helping. So at SAT over here, we have SAT prep. If you look to the left, top left corner, we have an SAT prep program. I should say digital SAT. I'll have something to say about that in a minute. Down here, application, essay startup, and support. We're down here too. Everywhere you see the education enrichment, we're going to help you. Delivery oversight for your transcripts. That's something we used to not do, but it's a free service in our program to make sure you deliver the transcripts properly. That's a common reason that applications are held up. Okay? So this is the process for UC and selected private college applications and how we support it. We help with the grade self-report on UC if you need it. I just put that in. How about the common application process? Wow, here, look at this. More than 1,200 colleges will accept the Common App for you guys. They're predominantly accepted now by private colleges. The more popular HBCUs all accept the Common App now. A few notable schools do not accept it: Biola, Brown, Georgetown. Set up the account at www.commonapp.org. You can do that. However, the final application data won't drop until July, mid-late July. But you can still set up the account. 90%, listen to this, 90% of the work on the Common App and the UC application, it's the essay. I'll cover the UC essay content in a video real soon. I'm gonna do a video on that, like I did last year. It got looked at a lot. It was cool. Students are only required to pick 1 out of 6 of a list of essays, and they do an essay. We'd love to help your student pick the essay and to write it. The quicker sooner they write it and put it away, the better. Many colleges require additional supplemental essays and short answers. I would say most do provide either one or the other, and some require both. Like USC requires 2 additional essays. Chapman requires 2. Loyola used to want 2, they now only want 1. That's an additional essay application to your Common App essay. So you're going to do a lot of writing. That's why if you have a lot of schools, you're going to do a lot of writing. The young lady that had 31 schools, she wrote, I think it ended up being 60 essays. Or was it, I think it was 50 essays actually. So here's the Common App process. It's very simple. You start with essay development. You open the Common App account. You put your Common App college list in. You do your supplemental essays and your teacher and counselor recommendations. And it's delivered. I don't have the middle arrow though. And you have three different ways to deliver. Early decision, early action has restrictive early action. And then you have regular decision. Oh, your regular decision delivery. Now, actually, if you look at that again, there's early decision delivery first. I do not advise early decision. Early decision is binding. You have to go to the school. Then look at the next group. There's early action, which you can get accepted early and it's not binding, no strings attached. However, restrictive early action, they're going to have restrictions on what other schools you can apply to. And usually you can apply to any other non-private university. They don't want you applying to any other private university if you apply restrictive early action. Because if you get in one of those other schools, you can't go to them if you get in their school. So if you apply restrictive early action to Stanford and you get into Stanford, it's over unless you go to UC or CSU. Boy, I hope you understand that. So you better be really sure if you do restrictive early action, that's the private school you want. It's generally used when just that is the truth, that a student knows that they're going to go to a private school, they're going to a certain school. Then they'll do restrictive early action. But I think early action is just fine for most other people. Then it brings us to the question of why not deliver them all early? Well, first of all, many schools do not have early action. Might be a shock to you. There's no early action. Stanford doesn't. Yes, they have restrictive early action, but I told you it was different. But a lot of schools do not have early action. They don't do all that. George Washington doesn't. Many schools do not even have it. So that's number one. Number two, I think 2 or 3 is enough. I don't think you need to do a whole bunch of early action applications. I don't think you need to do that. So, I'm going to find out why it was dropping people out here. Let me help Sister Rio out here. Sister Rio, can you hear me? Sister Rio? You can open your mic up, Sister Rio. Let me see if her mic's open. She got kicked out twice. I'm going to find out what's going on here. Maybe she wasn't here earlier. I see Miles is here. Miles, can you hear me? Miles?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Yeah. So your mom just came in. Good. Okay, I feel better now. Okay. I thought maybe we're getting booted out. So if you're ever not hearing me, kind of let me know here. I just want to be sure I'm getting through to everybody. All right. Okay, let's continue. Here's how we support CSUs. There's a grade self-report. There's application delivery. We provide the support over here for the self-report. We actually do the self-report for the student, which is helpful. They're applying to a lot of colleges. The reason why we inserted ourselves there was because we got tired of students making mistakes. It's not user-friendly. So we've decided to go ahead and help anybody who wants us to deliver their CSU applications. And then we follow up with the student and we teach them how to follow up on their applications, follow up. We give them follow-up training, okay? Training in how to set up their portals and how to look into the status, because CSU will communicate with students through portals, all right? And of course, that's why I put the education enrichment insignia there, because we'll help with that. Just a little bit on CSUs. I think I covered it in detail, either in a video or last time. There's 113 two-year colleges. There's 9 UCs, but there's 23 CSUs, including the Maritime Campus for Merchant Marine Academy. Northern California, Bay Area, Central California, Los Angeles area CSUs. I put Bakersfield in there. No, it is Kern County. Pomona, Fullerton, Southern California, we have San Diego State and San Marcos. So that's a list of all the CSUs. The ones with an asterisk are the non-urban CSUs. So most CSUs are in urban areas. There are some that are out in the countryside or in the deep suburbs, for sure, like Sonoma State. I consider that suburban, although the Santa Rosa does have 300,000 people and it's nearby. Okay. What does it take to get in CSU? There you go, 2.5. No test scores required or accepted. Remember, it's only 8, quote, A through G subjects. How is it computed? We'll look at that on the next page. It's on the transcripts. You should probably order a transcript after today. It says academic GPA, university GPA, UC CSU GPA, weighted GPA. These are all the GPAs that CSU and UC are interested in. On the application, classes that are in progress or planned in the 12th grade year will be reported, so they'll know what classes you're taking at the same time. Notice the 2.5 GPA was the minimum for non-impacted CSUs. Well, we won't get too deep into impaction and non-impaction today, but let's just say that most CSUs are impacted in some way. But if it's your area CSU, it's not impacted for you. If you have to go out of your area to a CSU, you're going to have higher grades. And you'll see a little bit about that right here. Here are the most highly impacted CSUs: Obispo, Fullerton, Long Beach, San Diego State, San Marcos, San Jose. If you're coming from out of the area. Now, if you're in an area high school, it's no problem. If you're going to a high school in Long Beach, your target GPA is not 3.7. You can probably get in with 2.8 or 2.7. That's how that works. That's how impaction works, everyone. It's area impaction. Here are the CSUs that require moderate grades, 2.5 to 3.0. They're all listed there. With what we saw with targets last year. We don't have this year's data yet. We'll have this year's data later. This is the 2023 data, student data that we saw for that class going in. We don't have the 24 yet, but you get the idea. So when you do your CSU list, have this in mind. That's why you want to know your GPA. It's very, very important. UCs, this is what we saw last year in our data, which this does not tell you. It just tells you the GPA targets that we saw from our data. It doesn't tell you the quality of the essays at all. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of comparisons online. People are writing in social media, oh, my son or daughter didn't get in. They were 4.2. They didn't get into Berkeley. But somebody else was 4.2 and they got in. There's so much we don't know. We don't know how that 4.2 fits in with their high school, how many APs did they take? You don't know how they got to the 4.2. No, how many were two-year college classes? And here's the most important thing you don't know. You don't know what that essay says. And notice I was very careful to not say anything about race, because UCs are not supposed to be using race. I keep seeing that speculation it's race. And it's not. It's just, now I will say it's hard for UC to decide who gets in, but that's a different issue. All right, so these are the UCs and what we see. If you notice the grades have to be higher for UC, that's no surprise. UCs, by state law, their pool of students is the top 10% of scholars in the state, top 10% GPAs at high schools. Whereas CSU is aiming for a different target group, top 1/3 of students. Okay. Here are your top, you want a more affordable school, you want to know where they are, what kind of schools. Many Protestant Christian colleges are going to be more affordable than their private school non-Christian counterparts. And there's some pretty good Protestant Christian schools out there. You know, Baylor is one that everybody talks about. But how about Biola, APU, Seattle Pacific, Grand Canyon, whatever. Some Western state colleges are very, very affordable. Some Big Ten state colleges in the Midwest, Iowa, is very affordable for California students. They have a special scholarship for them. Minnesota is very, very affordable for California students. There's other ones too. Certain private colleges are going to be very affordable, the way they're set up. kind of how they've decided to expend their endowment funds. Very few private schools are like that, though. California State Universities are going to be more affordable, than other schools for your student. You can get in there and go there with. If I go locally, it's nothing out of pocket practically. College enrollment and financial review award. Here's the process here. You'll have some custodial parent tax information that's picked up by the 25-26 FAFSA. You're going to have a verification that's done behind the scenes inside the FAFSA, and sometimes the school will still request information. But it's going to be based on your 2023 federal tax transcripts. That information will automatically be transferred into your FAFSA invisibly almost during the FAFSA process. I should have put a dash box around these. You get a financial aid award. Certain schools require a CS profile, which is an additional financial aid form above and beyond the FAFSA. About 500 or 600 private schools require it. So you'll come across it, like USC requires it. That's the most notable local. Occidental requires it. All the Claremonts require it. Okay. We'll talk about the significance of that in a minute. They're going to upload your tax return. You're going to send your tax return to a third party, and they're going to upload it from the third party. This is against the law for colleges to get tax return data directly. They can look on the FAFSA if they want. Okay, so this is going to be the financial aid award process you're going to go through. Notice this 2023 information that's dependent on. I hope you saw that. So if you're filing that 2023 return, good move. You need to get it filed so the financial aid for 2025 will not be affected. And then there's non-custodial information required. So if you're a single parent, there's a good chance if you do the CS profile, they're going to request the information on the other parent. So start thinking now about what that means. So maybe the other parent's not going to be cooperative. So yeah, that could affect the school they go to. You may have to pick some schools that don't have the CS profile or don't have the custodial parent requirement. You can see me about that. I can show you how to figure that out. Or when we do the list in your conference, I usually point out to parents which schools require the custodial parent. We can have that conversation in total privacy. So about 640 of the I think it's 1,200 colleges will require the non-custodial parent information. By the way, maybe 800, I'm not sure. Facts to consider. It's free application for federal student aid. You don't have to pay for it. It's, like I said, it's based on 23 income. First date, we think will be October 1st. That's what they're advertising now, 2024. We recommend the FAFSA be filed in that first period, 1st to the 31st of October. Some selective listen to this. Some selective private schools also require a financial aid document. It's an online document called the CSS profile. The 2025, listen to the CS profile process will probably require information. It will, don't put probably. Probably, because you could pick a college that doesn't. It'll take the information on the divorced or separated non-custodial parent. The FAFSA only requires information on one parent. A lot of you say, well, he's not going to do anything. They're still going to require it. And some of these schools will not provide the award until that's addressed. I know USC is like that. They will not provide a financial award until they get the information from the other parent or some satisfaction that it's been addressed. Again, see me if you have any questions on that. So here's what you need to know about it's not user-friendly. Boy, that's really true this year. I don't know if I've really updated this chart, but it is true this year. A lot of people made mistakes this year. It was a new form. Hopefully they'll get some of the bugs out. There were bugs too. Still things that are happening weird that's in there. I noticed when I was filing FAFSAs, I filed about 60 this year already. I've noticed a lot of weirdities of the form. Things crazy. I got one I'm clearing up tonight. Something crazy happened. Here's what you'll need to file the FAFSA. FAFSA username and password, so order it today. or as soon as possible, 2023 return, not to deliver, but to look at while you're filing in case you need it. You go to fafsa.ed.gov. Actually, it's fafsa.gov now. If you're filing your use FAFSA yourself, and you should file your use FAFSA. Okay? Mistakes on the FAFSA also happen in the follow-up phase, and they start asking questions. Really understand what they're asking for before you change the FAFSA. You often do not have to change it. The school can actually change the FAFSA if it's needed. Please know youth should file their own FAFSA. Boy, I agree with that. Still, parents are paying for it. Do not have a commercial service file your FAFSA. We're a nonprofit organization. We do it for a small fee. But I've seen online $500, $1,000, $1,200, $2,000 to file a FAFSA. Please don't do that. You don't need to do that. It's not illegal to have a preparer. It's in the federal code, but don't do that though. Other FAFSA considerations. Order your username and password today. Yeah, get it out of the way. As it turns out, not having a proper username and password was the leading cause of me not being able to file people's FAFSAs right away. There was something going on with those. Here's a URL to do that. It's right here. You can just Google too. You can Google FAFSA username and password. It'll take you right to it. Remember, the youth and parent each need a FAFSA username and password. Look at that. Both need a username. And somebody said, well, I have a username and password from before. A parent might think that. That's right. It's fine. You can keep that same one, but a student doesn't have one. They need to apply for one. Take the time to order your password. I said it twice. Here's some tips in creating it right here. You can look at these tips. I tell you how to. I recommend first initial, last name, 4 or 5 numbers, for example. Okay. Make sure you use the name as it appears on your Social Security card. No nicknames. It has to be as it is on the card. And a lot of times, if someone's been married, like a woman's been married, right? And they take the last name of their new person in public, but they haven't changed it on their Social Security card. Well, that makes it very hard for you to submit a FAFSA without correcting that. So when you do your username and password, you need to correct your name. If you already have a username and password, you need to go back in there and put forgot username and correct the information that's associated with your name. Password can be 4 letters, 1 capitalized, 4 numbers, and 1 special character. Here's the application process with essays, emphasizing the essays. There's that data I talked about before. GPA, weighted and unweighted, SAT scores, family income, all your career possibilities. And you'll have an orange to suggestions of friends and relatives and a student in your counselor at the school. They'll research and tell you schools or tell you how to research. That's fine. But you should also have a blue component, which are database. Now that comes your college list. If necessary, you're going to do, as somebody said, what do you mean if necessary, you're going to have essays? Yeah, you might have a list that has only CSUs on it because maybe the GPA is not elevated extremely high, right? That's what I mean by data-driven. If necessary, you'll have a Common App essay, a UC essay, and you'll have some supplemental essays. And those are typically done in the summer, okay? And then UC and private college, you can finish the application up typically in October or November. Your early action ones are the 1st to 15th, but as I said, you shouldn't make all your schools early action. You'd be driven crazy in October. Now, your regular applications are due December 1st through January. Facts about the essays. The essays, you're going to be asked to pick 4 out of 8, what they call personal insight questions of 250 to 350 words. Yep, 4 essays. 4 of 8, a list of 4 of the 8. You're going to pick 4 from the 8 essays they list. Common App essays, you pick 1 of the 6, 350 to 650 words. And then the supplemental essays, some Common App schools want additional writing, typically 250 to 300 words. Also, there'll be short answers. Regular essays, some non-common application schools want 1 to 2 essays of varying length, Biola, Georgetown, Brown, etc. Here's the key to high academic merit awards: grades, 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 and then grades, and then SAT or ACT. Okay? Both. And that's why a lot of people need to take the SAT, even though it's not needed for admission. Some schools will admit you, but they won't give you any money without the SAT. That would be Howard and Hampton, perfect example. And many other schools are that way. They'll be glad to let you in, but you won't get any merit award without a high SAT and high grades. Sometimes just having the SAT and grades.
You have a question in the chat.
All right, what is it? Oh, who's that? Go ahead and read it.
It's me. It's Nicole Price.
Oh, what's up?
Hey, I was listening to the FAFSA section. So your initial award for your freshman is decided on was 2023 year. So what if there's a significant change in your income and so for instance, someone returns to work. So, one of the parents returns to work and then there's a significant salary increase. Does that in the following years, after they're at the school, does their financially potentially go down I'm assuming if it's need based? I'm just curious about that because you would want to plan for less money if you think you're gonna go get back to work. That's kind of personal scenario that I'm in.
I know. It's redone every year.
It's redone every year. Okay.
You could owe more money the second. I've seen that. Okay. I've seen 23 parents were out of work. But that's why if I'm around, I'm going to tell you that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to say, oh, yeah, you have a good FAFSA this year, but you just told me you're back at work now. I mean, remember, I'll know this is 24 when we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're back sometimes at really great jobs. So I've seen financial aid go from, I had a student at CSU, at Louis Obispo, that was almost totally free the first year.
Right.
Second year, then the parent had to put in 20,000.
Okay.
Because they were back to work.
Is there a way, and I'm imagining there's not a way to estimate that? Say, oh, I might have a job that's at this amount, and that way, I'm just trying to think. I'm a planner.
There's a way, but you're not submitting that FAFSA until next year.
Right.
The next year. And it's going to look for 24's income.
Right. But there's no way to estimate what that change might be. That's probably.
And that would be decisions that are made inside the house by the CEO and the chief of business operations in the house.
I got it. Okay.
Which typically is one of the parents or between the two.
Right.
I know in my house, never mind. I'll leave that alone. I better be very careful here. This is on video. So yeah, okay. and that's it, but that's not such a trivial question. Right. I think there's some people that need to figure out whether they should be working. Somebody said, oh, Deacon, that's obvious. People have to work. Really? Are you really sure about that? I don't know about that. Or where you work if you have control over it.
Right. Okay.
Or how you bring in your money. Or what, hint, 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 what business expenses you have.
Mm-hmm.
Deacon, what are you talking about? Business expenses are business. Really? Is that true? Might be a good year to get that new auto lease. I don't know. I hope that helped.
Okay. Yes, it did. Thank you.
I had to be very careful, but I hope it helped.
Yes, it did.
Because I don't look good in orange. Y'all know orange is the county suit. I guess y'all know that. Okay. All right. Anybody else, Quinn?
Yes, a question from Crystal. She says, can you talk
Crystal Brown. Oh, she's here. Oh, go ahead.
Middle class grant for California schools.
Okay, another question that's interesting. So theoretically, up to 245,000 income, you could get a middle class grant, but it's on a sliding scale, and it's not linear. It's like a decreasing logarithmic. So one of my parents got a grant for $400 for her student in one of the financial aid awards for CSU. And that was a middle class grant. The maximum it can be is $5,200. Most people who are in that $60,000 range will get $4,500 or $5,200 in a middle class grant. When you get to 80,000, it's far lower. It's more like $1,000 or $1,500. So I would not bank on middle. In fact, I just heard in the news that with these budget trouble we're having, the governor's talking about dropping the middle class grant for 1 year, 1 or 2 years. I would not be surprised if they cut that out. Because the state is really in a serious financial situation right now, even after all that surplus we had coming out of COVID. So a middle class grant exists, but the question is how much, right? That's the big question. And most people, most families in my program, the incomes are above $70,000. And I would say a lot of them in California are 6 figures. Because I don't know if you figure out it costs a lot of money to live in California. 150,000, a couple of kids is not a lot of money. You're not rich. You're just not in California. If I put you up there in Boise, you're rich, but not here. So you think that middle class grant would understand that, but it is not as friendly as one would think. Now, below a certain income, there's lots of good grant money coming from the state of California, different types too. Hope that helped. Crystal, how did I do? I always want to know how I did, whether I answered my question or not. All right, let us know in the chat if you have a follow-up. Anybody else, Quinn?
No, that's it.
All right. Let's talk about the SAT, and we're almost done. The SAT, very high GPAs, I think, are the best for the SAT. ACT of 20 or a 20 plus composite or SAT of 960 plus. Generally, those are good candidates for the SAT again. If the student debt is, if high student debt is okay with you, I shouldn't say student debt, really parent debt, I should have said. I gotta correct this. It's not an issue. 20,000 to 35,000 is okay. Then all right, that would be another type of situation you would do the SAT. So, Deacon, what do you mean? Well, the default is CSU and UC, right? And you might want to say, well, I want to apply to a couple of HBCUs. And my only point is that even with the SAT, you just got to understand your debt is going to still be a factor. It's not a guarantee you'll get enough money just because you took the SAT. If you score significantly high, it's going to depend on the school you picked. Because some schools, even if you have high grades and a high SAT, it does not guarantee that you get everything covered. People will say they got free rides. And every time I look into it, parents, be aware of this. It's not really a free ride. So there's that whole problem. Let's see, considering private colleges away from California, yes, you need to think about the SAT then, because maybe some merit award will help. Application support is close and very good. Yeah, if you're not going to have great application support, the SAT isn't going to help you anyway. You need really good, strong essay and application support in process. Let's talk about yes.
All right, we have another question from Davin. How will a 529 affect financial aid?
So I'm gonna tailor my answer to you. To the schools you're looking at, the 529 is going to be on the FAFSA this year. They added it back to the FAFSA, but it's not going to have a significant impact on what they call the SAI unless your income is above $150,000. I actually specifically looked into that, but they are requiring a report on what is available as an asset in the 529 account. That has never been done before. They are requiring it. And if you file a CS profile, they're going to get it. They get everything. Okay. So if you have a large 529, it just tells you you're going to be spending that money if you want to hold down your loans, right? Which is what it was for anyway, right? Students should take the May, June, or August SAT if they have not taken it at all and he or she needs it. Okay, we're right now prepping for the May, so it's a little late for that. I should have put June or August. So start thinking now you're doing the June or August. I'm gonna go ahead and comment. I think I've already said it to people by email, I'm not sure. But if you've taken the prep must for March, I'll say it for March because we now have new materials. We'd like to teach students how to do the calculator, how to use the online inline calculator as an assistant to get questions correct. We now have broken that. The Princeton Review has broken it, and I'll be glad to show students how to do that. Also, to look at the patterns. We found some patterns in the March SAT that are important for students in their strategic preparation. So anybody getting review for the May or taking the June SAT will get that. Just let me know. I'll be glad to do it. Matter of fact, I see the Cyruses are here, and I realized that I should tell you that your first sections, you won't need the new book. I have everything I'm gonna send you is in links. I'm gonna send you links to information for yours, and I will get you that book still though, but I just don't need it for the first 2 sessions. So I didn't rush it to you just yet. Still may get it to you, but you'll be sitting on it for a couple of sessions of review. I don't see the other review person here, but that's what I plan on doing. All right. Take it a second time in October, November, if applicable. We will also offer prep for all tests. There'll be online availability, but I can tell you right now, I think I'm saying this right. In August, starting in August, we will be in person in the Family Life Center giving SAT prep. If people want to get it online for a small additional fee, they can be watching what I'm doing with the students in the class. But they'll hear me doing things interactive with the students that we found in our new material and training this week are very effective in person. There's a part of the prep for the math and a part of the prep for how they use the eliminator tool and some other things. Well, I want to walk the room and see the students, how they're using them. And I want to give them practice tests and see what they do right in front of me. Okay, so it's a part of the prep. In person, I think we can add a little more value, but sometimes schedules will not allow it, so they can get it online, but I'm going to be in person for the August. If a student wants to take it again in August, no problem. They can come on up, be in person with me, and pick selected sessions, slide in and out. You get free service for the lifetime of your SAT experience if you take it just once from us, the prep. The cost is $100 to $260 depending on the high school. There are limited spots. Go to West AEP, click prep banner at the page top, register for the SAT at www.collegeboard.com. Please apply to outer sites like in Orange County or outer county sites. There's very few sites available in the inner city, period. I think I said that right. So inner city LA, you're not going to find a lot of sites. Inner city San Diego, not a lot of sites. But in the suburbs of San Diego, you'll find a lot of sites. In the deep suburbs of LA, you'll find a lot of sites. Up around Riverside, there's a lot of sites. Up there in Ventura County, there's a lot of sites if you apply early. You'll see very few little action inside the city because they've cut down on the number of sites because LUSD and Inglewood and Compton and Long Beach don't want to pay for test sites to be open on Saturdays. I'm very sorry. There are 1 or 2, but they're very limited. And your school may offer the SAT. That's fine. God bless you. You can take it at your school. We are thinking about offering it too. We haven't gotten around to it yet. I want to get in the building first. We may not be doing it until spring anyway. Spring of 25. Okay, the last important information, use the digital SAT calculator. I said before to the group that they didn't have to do that, but I now believe it's essential. It's really a test assistant for the math. If you know math well, it will improve your score tremendously to use the digital, their calculator, because there's things like your ability to instantly bring graphs up. It makes the graphs for you. You don't have to draw them. You can use the graphing tool and the calculator to figure out problems. There's usually 3 ways now to do the math problems, including you can do a lot of the tougher problems with that graphing calculator. And the techniques we have with that we teach you in the prep, you're very dangerous. So that's the latest information we want to share. I'm working a group tonight, showing them how to use it, but I'm gonna do that again. Miles, don't worry, Miles, I'll hit you up on our first session with that. I'm gonna show you how to use it, okay? Don't worry about it. All right. Top ways you can control costs. Students have a realistic, non-entitlement perspective on yourself. You get the school you earn and choose, not just the one you choose. Students, please easily understand that you cannot have a right to attend any college you want, no matter what the cost is. Students' applications, listen to this, require work and time above and beyond your homework, job, athletics, etc. It's gonna be a lot of work if you have a lot of schools on your list, particularly if that's the case. Okay. Selection tips, open conversation. How much are you willing to pay in cash for college per year? How much debt are you willing to take? The quicker you can do that, the better. I think I showed the parent loan chart in the beginning. How much per month are you willing to pay for college for 7 to 10 years after your student leaves college? These are important questions, you know, that you're going to have to ask yourself, unfortunately. Evaluate your students' study skills and willingness to succeed academically. I used to not want students to hear this. I think it's important. Students, you're going to be evaluated by your parents on where you are in your study skills when they're picking the school. Okay? All right. Selection tips. Use our Enriched Study program. We have one at the church. You can come in there and we'll be doing homework assistance at the church. Glad to help you, particularly if it's advanced month. Okay? And remember, your senior year, you're commanded to have fun. Curb your number of activities and employment while doing applications. I mentioned that earlier. It's hard to get those essays done if you have a lot of things you're doing in the summer. Really analyze that summer and think about, or just shorten the list, right? I can help you with making the list very pithy and very efficient so it doesn't have to be so long. Academic merit awards are based on 3 years, not 3.5 years. So college is going to look at your 3 years of grades, which are really going to be finished shortly here. So you need to have a great semester. You need to have good exams this semester. This is it, 11th graders. They sometimes will ask for the transcript for the senior year, the first one, but they've stopped doing that. They're looking at the 3 years. So first 3 years are very important. You think, well, I can get them up in the summer and senior year. Probably not at a selective private school. Understand the mathematics of this. If you want to raise your GPA, it's probably too late to do it by AP classes in 12th grade. It's too late. So I'm going to take AP classes to raise my grades. It's probably too late the way averages work. Even if you were to do it, they were to look at the first semester, you get straight A's. The effect it has on your average is mathematically 20% lower than it would have had your first 6 semesters. That's the way math works. Resist the fear of disappointing counselors and teachers. Be more in a you first mentality. You first. Your family first, parents, students, you first. Recognize you should actually continue AP classes and when you should not continue AP classes. If there were B's and C's or just B's, maybe you're through with AP now. Just take regular classes, get your straight A's with your bad self. Get them straight A's. Get it close to straight A's. That's what you want to do your 7th semester, your first semester of your senior year. But they'll pressure you to take AP, but it's too late for that. You can report them in progress if you see, but they won't have the grades. Another tip, find out and apply for the most affordable colleges. Also, have them mixed in. I can help you with that. Name brand colleges with average to very good grades, very high college costs. Name brand colleges with super high grades. It's quite reduced college costs. So if you have super high grades, what are we talking about? You'll have a reduced cost. But if you have very good grades, you're still going to have high college costs. In fact, I saw somebody this year that had super high grades and the school hardly gave them anything. Watch for early, I hope that's not going to be true of all our schools. Watch for early lock-in, parents and students. This is the one thing that colleges hope you're doing, that you're locking into a dream school. If you get in, you're going to go no matter what it takes. Visit 1 to 2 colleges you believe that you will not like or want. Yeah, I think you should visit schools you don't think you'll like just to check them out. You should see presentations about schools you don't think you'll like, want to learn kind of what colleges offer. What will you have to compare your school to? Or your school's presentation to? We have such an opportunity on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. You can come over to West Angeles. We're in person. It's not going to be online. It's going to be a presentation by CSU Bakersfield. You say, well, Bakersfield. Not Bakersfield. I ain't going there. But you remember what I said. You should apply to 1 or 2 schools that you don't think you'll like. Or even see the presentations. How about that? That doesn't mean you're going to apply. It doesn't mean you're going to go. You're just learning about more schools. Learn to draw a distinction. If you're interested in that, you go right to our website to new events. You can RSVP for it. So Darius will know you're coming. Learn to draw a distinction between applying for and attending. I talked about that. Shopping versus buying, right? You can shop, right? And then when you decide to go, you're buying in. So shopping means you may apply to schools you're not going to go to. You may visit schools you're not going to go to. You may go to presentations of schools that you're not going to apply to. That's part of the process. Here's some really affordable selective private colleges. We talked about that earlier, I believe. We talked about Black colleges. You can pick this up. I think I had that. Here's the affordable public universities I talked about earlier. In the West, got those. And here's the Best Buys. They're similar to the other list. I think I talked about that earlier as well. Okay. Get this presentation, Quinn. Make sure you put it in there one more time so they'll have it.